Hello everyone, it is Joe here from OmniPoke, the channel that brings you guys everything Pokemon. If you're looking for PTCGO codes, including the stuff from Crown Zenith, make sure you check out the Potown store. You can get a 5% discount on your orders using that code OmniPoke. For today's video, we are going to be looking at the Fusion Strike based build of Mew VMAX. It's actually been a long time since I've done a video on this deck because the sort of Judge Path base build has been my personal preferred way to play the Mew deck, but that's not to say that the Fusion build doesn't still have a ton of merits and is still one of the most aggressive and best drawing decks in the game. So let's have a look at it. Breaking down this build, comparing it to a Judge Path based build is really just the fact that we are playing Meloetta in the deck for the Melodious Echo attack. For Psychic and Colourless, you do 70 times the amount of Fusion Strike energy attached to all of your Pokemon. And let's not forget the fact that, of course, we can be copying that with the Mew VMAX themselves. But the upside of actually using Meloetta is that if we have gone second, we can try and use Elesa Sparkle on the first turn of the game to accelerate from the deck to Fusion Strike energy to 1 to 2 different Fusion Strike Pokemon, which the whole deck is Fusion Strike Pokemon, so that in addition to a turn attachment of a Fusion Strike energy, so 3 fusions on the board, we're hitting 210 base damage, and we do have Choice Belt and Power Tablets to hopefully allow us to knock out opposing V Pokemon to initiate that prize race with a very dangerous one prize Pokemon that the opponent can't really ignore. So oftentimes they have to go through the Meloetta, which really sets us up for a decent prize race. And that's always something we're looking to do. Up trading into multi-prize Pokemon is still one of the best traits of this deck. That's why we're seeing Pal Pad as well as a couple of Boss's Orders. We're seeing Echoing Horn in here as well to bring back multi-prize Pokemon for us to then target down. That's kind of the main emphasis of this list. Now, I'm not playing Pokemon Catchers. They're not for me, but you certainly can play Pokemon Catchers. I think one of the most recent successful lists of Fusion Mew was playing 3 copies of Pokemon Catcher, embracing those coin flips, embracing that absolute high roll of just knocking out a really important threat immediately. If you do manage to get full combo, is just so backbreaking against opponents that you just take a win immediately from the tempo of a Sparkle Meloetta turn, which can be massive. It's not just good for tempo with Meloetta, though. You can also try and use this to get 4 energy boards full of fusion energy, which then ramps your damage output all the way up to 280, which can also be really important because oftentimes the Technoblast isn't getting the job done, especially with double turbo energies. You then go scrambling around to try and find your damage mods, the tablets and the Choice Belt, and especially with like V-guarded Lugias and such, it can be difficult for you to reach, but for the option of going Echo instead of a Technoblast, so that you can, again, with just 1 or 2 mods at that stage, you're able to knock out if you have the full 4 fusion board state. So that's another benefit to the Meloetta build. You have higher damage output at certain points in the game, which is really massive. Thanks to having the Meloetta as a backup attacker, we're just playing a 3-2 line of Mew VMAX. We always have Cyllene as a fallback option if we have awkward prize cards or anything like that, so something to bear in mind. We are playing the usual suite of turbo cards, the VIPs, the Crams, the Ultras, the Quick Balls. I'm choosing to play a couple Rotom Phone just to try and smooth out those opening draws to allow you to establish that combo that little bit more often, which is really nice, and it's just a universally decent card to help us piece things together. I'm still playing a Lost Vacuum. It can be nice at getting rid of sort of defensive tools as well as be another bounce to Path of the Peak, which is of course something that we are still afraid of with Reggie decks and with Mew Mirrors in certain cases. You want to have those bounces available. We are playing Lost City to try and be awkward for Lost Box players as well as Reggie players. We are playing a couple Judge and Pal Pad, so we are still representing that sort of hand disruption approach because there are just simply so many one prize decks in the format right now. I do like the Lost City Judge option, even though we are, able to go Sparkle and get aggressive. We still have the defense mode options of the Judge. Speaking of defensive, we are also playing the Big Parasol. It protects us against Amazing Rare Yveltal, as well as the Cry of Destruction Yveltal as well, to protect our energies on the board, which can also be really, really important. So this is a very decent option. And we are playing the Forest Seal Stones for extra consistency. So overall, it's a pretty streamlined, straightforward Mew. If you were trying to make spaces for the catchers, I would recommend getting rid of the Rotom Phones. Possibly even the Pal Pad can go in order to make room for catchers. But that's just a little thing from me. Let's get into some games and see how Fusion Mew treats us. Like I said, Judge Mew is kind of my preferred option because I feel like just taking advantage of Path in the format is very viable into the Lugia players, but this gives us an alternate win condition against them. Lugia can definitely suffer in the opening stages from having kind of weaker hands, and even just having the option, the threat of Sparkle Meloetta makes players play differently, makes them, you know, capture out a second Lugia and all this other stuff, and it can hurt their ideal board state at times. So there are hidden benefits to just being able to one-hit KO stuff, even if it doesn't pan out that way. Looks like we're in a Path mirror, actually, so they're going to be the more defensive build. We're going to be the aggressor, more than likely. Our hand isn't great, though. I probably need to play double rope out of my hand, which means I actually do start the Meloetta still here, because I want to try and thin these out to get towards Genesect draws, actually. I may be forced to Judge turn 1, which wouldn't be ideal, because we want to have the tempo of a Sparkle play, but we'll see how things come together here. Our opponent is going to lead off with their own Mew. They get an early attachment, and they're going to start grabbing their Genesect Vs, as you'd expect. For a Path-based build in the mirror, their priorities are to Path us, of course, but also to try and put a one-prize Pokemon in the active position is probably going to be helpful for them. Can we see a Rotom Phone? Can they mill one more card? No, they are. Then force a Star Alchemy, so that was a weird sequence. They could have kept the phone for when they VIP passed and got extra value, but whatever. They burned their phone for no reason. They could have had a better choice now off their second Genesect, but hey-ho. We are cracking on. They're going in blind instead with Genesect number 1. They hit a VIP anyway, so they're well and truly in the game now. Their one-prize Pokemon is going to be the Oricorio. No surprise there, really. And I think at this point they're just trying to work towards whether or not they can Path us. And they are going to Path, which actually ends up helping our hand because it means I have a playable Vacuum here. And we have a Cram, so we'll definitely cram away a Rope and see the outcome of this. Could be pretty massive here. It is going to be a Tails, which is a little bit rough, but we have a Rope. I imagine they feed us this Mew here. We'll have to see, because I have to respect the fact that I could Echo. Okay, so they do give a Genesect up, potentially. Because our start is bad, it's a weird thing to want to keep Path into play and just play Judge here. It might be a stronger option for me to actually just stay alive. It's just so risky that I just don't draw into a bounce anytime soon, and they still have a ton of bounces in their own deck. So I feel like it's still probably best for me to try and cash in on the likes of our own VIP pass early and such. Genesecting for 1 doesn't sound too helpful, but I am judging myself anyway, so I may as well see a card here. And, well, okay, fine. We may as well see 2 more before the Judge. Let's... Do I even want to draw back into Rotom Phone is a question. Yeah, I probably do. Alright, let's see some more cards here. We actually get into a Forest Seal Stone, which is massive. Unfortunately, drawing into a few of our Fusion Strike energies, but it is what it is. We're going to Alchemy here for VIP. We're going to make a couple Mew. I don't think I necessarily want to do too much else here. I want to attach to the Meloetta, because I can still win a prize race if they try and get around Meloetta. So I'll still attach here and just pass. Not the best turn, obviously we didn't have, from the Cramtails, any sort of workable hand to do anything but the Judge play here. And we'll see how our opponent's hand is shaped up. They of course have their own abilities back online from our Lost Vacuum. They're going to end up thinning their own hand and getting rid of a Forest Seal Stone here. Interestingly, getting rid of a Switch Cart. That's a surprise to me. Feels like that would have been a decent option in their hand, just to be another -1 option. Possibly it means they have Rope in hand. Or DTE to attach to the active. Or they could be working towards cross switches. That could be another thing. Okay, they just had to switch. That's fair. And we're going to see the Genesect for 5. They are gonna VMAX. Gonna see belts. They're going to keep thinning, which makes complete sense. They still have more Genesect draws. Surprisingly, they do grab a Mew. Okay, it's going to be fodder. Yeah, makes sense. Going to see a few more cards here. So again, they're probably working towards a path. If they can get a path KO, it would be pretty ugly for us. They could also be working towards a Gust play. Even gusting a Genesect V would be pretty ugly for us. Gonna see a big cram flip. Tails. Okay, they're just going to take the one prize knockout. So in theory, we can try and win a race here, but we only played 2 boss. And one's already in the zone. Just based on how rough our opening hand was. Sure, I don't mind VMAXing and just drawing a couple off this first Genesect. Don't want to commit myself to a Sparkle play. Although now, based on the hand, it kind of makes sense. Because again, I want to play this tablet, and then it means I can go Fusion, go Sparkle. It commits me to finding a lot of damage mods this turn. I need to find the lot, basically. But I don't really know what else I'm doing this turn. If I'm not thinning these cards. So let's attach, let's tablet. Let's see some more from Genesect. That's some very good draws, to be honest. I'll keep the Ultra Ball live again. Because I can get one more Genesect draw for another chunk here. That's tablet 2. Tablet 3. Wow, okay. Is something happening? Something magical happening? Need to find exactly Choice Belt. Oh boy. Oh. Well, I guess we caught up. It's kind of nice. And thanks to us using Fusion Energy rather than DTE, we get the KO here. Now, it's pretty difficult for a DTE-based Mew to respond on our VMAX. But they haven't played any tablets, so it's possible. Especially with like Cyllene flips and such, it is possible for them to respond. Oh wow, and they actually already are holding triple tablet. What is this game? What is this game that we play? I thought I high rolled. What the heck? What the... So they still need 2 more mods. Oh no, they only need 1, right? Because I don't have Oricorio. They still have a ton of draws. Actually pretty crazy that they were sat on triple raw tablets. Phone has a good option here, even though they're just seeing 5 of their 12 cards just to draw 1 here. Is that the 5th or the 4th? Yeah, quad tablet turn. Crazy. So, I can't win a conventional race now because their hand was so insane. We don't play many defensive options. I've played 3 tablets and a choice belt already. So I'm pretty sure we're just dead in the water here. We're going to burn this. Yeah, they know that we're just dead. Yeah, it is what it is. We attacked second in mirror, and they had a quad turn. So, with no defensive options, like Judge is doing nothing when they have Genesect online. You just tip your cap to them and say, nice hand, I guess. The mirror is kind of wacky. Like, the path build obviously has more plays against you. They have early game cheese options. They have late game cheese options with Roxanne path. They have much more ways that they can catch you. And, of course, we missed our main power spike, which would have been a Sparkle turn 1 2-prize knockout, which would have meant that we won actually on that turn. But, yeah, it is what it is. Our opening, Cramtails and having no other option. It is what it is sometimes. The Mew mirror is always going to be a bit of a fiesta, and you both draw so many cards. It is oftentimes about the sequence in which you draw those cards, so never feels too bad, to be honest. They were also playing phones, though, so they were also playing, like, a consistent list, at least. Let's see what we're up against this time. We're once again going second, so again, a Sparkle might be our priority, but this is looking like a lost box. So Oricorio is actually pretty handy against Lost Box, because it can mean an extra energy for like a Rayquaza knockout, but they look to be playing Zama, so they're more than likely a Kyogre-based list. So definitely judging is going to be a priority for us. I honestly don't mind still going for an early Meloetta, because oftentimes their map can involve knocking out a VMAX or a... they can try and just target down gens anyway with Kyogre in a late game scenario. So having 2 1-prize Pokemon in play isn't that big of a deal if you're the one initiating a race, especially if you're knocking out something like a Comfey. Hurting their draw power can be pretty powerful if we were able to rope this turn. Opening hand is insane as well. Like, even if I cram Tails, I'm still drawing cards with a Rotom Phone Genesect, so that's at least something. Are they going to be able to move the Zamazenta and begin their Lost Zone voyage? No, they're not. That's good news. Wow, another Quick Ball is super interesting. So Quick Ball here, 2 Genesects down, cram this, play Phone and have Ultra Ball banked in hand. Sounds very promising. We may as well start with the Cram. It's going to be Tails. Let's now do our Quick Ballage. We definitely like Genesect. How many? All 4 fusions, 2 Sparkles. It's going to be... I think I like getting rid of the one-of Phone here. Keeping 1 for another Genesect. It's just so likely that you hit VIPs when you have phones, right? And we're off. So there's our full board, which you'll love to see. Do I need double Mew? I probably do, right? But it means I have 1 more Genesect this turn to make things happen. But I can also draw things like Judge in the opening stages, and it's reasonable. This would have to be a pretty heroic hand. My goodness, okay. Right. I forgot how crazy Mew can be sometimes. But I will rope first to see how they react. I think they almost always give me this guy. but maybe if they don't trust their Lost Zone, they can give me an early Greninja. Yeah, okay. So, because this is only 70 hit points, I can bung this all onto a Mew and Psychic Leap KO here. Pretty happy with that option. So that they don't have an easy cram play. We'll stay active. I mean, they have no cards in the Lost Zone, so I'm not too afraid of a gate play. Really, our priority at this stage is going to be to judge as much as possible, try and work towards our lost cities, and take out important threats. Try and make it so they can't recycle key cards like Sableye and such. We play Echoing Horn, so if ever they try and stash a Pokemon in the discard pile, I can try and Horn boss KO it. Like, if they're gonna discard a Kyogre or something, we can try and really heavily punish that. They don't play a huge amount of discard, they just play the quick balls, right? But it can sometimes come up. Rope Cart Rod already in the zone for them. They can get to 4 this turn with the retreats. They're actually going to net. Okay. Which means they're holding more nets, I suppose. Otherwise, they would have just made the payment of retreat play. Right, Lightning going to hit the discard of the zone, which means they're probably playing Dragonite V. Yeah, more nets. Let's get them to 5. Maybe 7 is on the cards, who knows? They could do a retaliate KO. That would be the worst case scenario for us. They got rid of Boss, which is interesting. Definitely shuts a door for them. Alright, they're getting there pretty quick. This is number 6. They got rid of a Forest Seal Stone. That's interesting. Air Balloon gets them to 7. Pretty impressive. So gates are unlocked now for them. Benching a Sableye. Okay. It's kind of interesting. Alright, just the pass. So they got to 7, but they weren't able to fully utilize that. I think I want to discard the Cyllene here. And just make a VMAX. Have to remember this is my only VMAX. Let's get drawing some cards. Definitely happy getting rid of Sparkle. That seems fine. Might cram Ultra Ball, honestly, but it's such a good declogger that I might just be making a boss play here rather than a Judge play. I think it's boss Greninja. And then we'll draw 3. I'm hoping to Lost Zone this Greninja, right? That's the ideal scenario. Alright, so we do get that. I can also Pal Pad now and put back Boss Cyllene. They seem reasonable. Definitely want to do this. Definitely want to do this. We have Max Miracle ready to rumble. We have not much else in terms of the draw department, but that's fine. I can pretty much hold everything until next turn. I'm most likely going to try and cram for Judge next turn, right? So let's just Miracle for the KO, and then Greninja's a big part of their draw engine. It's also a massive way that they actually bank energies in their discard pile for a Kyogre play, so I'm feeling pretty good about this. They, of course, can continue to pop off with their zonage, but the fact that they didn't deal any damage last turn felt pretty good for us, and the fact that we've zoned a big part of their draw engine early is also very solid. The only thing that's slightly concerning is they do have quite a large hand here, so they could be making some pretty scary plays. We unfortunately weren't able to take VMAX off prizes either. So if they are able to like Drappy on us or something, I'd have to Cyllene, which is really upsetting. You'd love to Judge on a Drapion turn, right? I don't want to be locked into a Cyllene play. But if it's a Kyogre build, it's unlikely to be playing Drap. I'm just worried about Vs because they're playing Forest. So if they're playing a Sealstone, they're probably playing a couple of things here to cater to it. I'm going to see Switch Cart though. So they are at 10 and they're just going to sprinkle with Lost Mine. This isn't necessarily the biggest concern for us. Wonder where this even goes, to be honest. Alright, they're going to knock out Meloetta and pepper up Oricorio. And the Lost City stays, so that's also pretty good for us. I'm happy enough getting rid of this Meloetta and just making another Genesect here. Could also make another Mew. Just so that I am locking in more bounce plays and just keeping that door open for me as much as possible. But I'm definitely liking the look of Lost Zoning this Sable guy. I think I'd much rather Pal Pad in a Judge than a Boss's Orders, so I think I'm going to hold on that. I don't mind seeing 3 cards here first. There's really not much I want to insta-play. It's like energy cards are some of the only things. I don't think the Rope is better than just knocking out Sableye here and Lost Zoning it. So I think we'll do that, and then we'll draw with our last Genesect after the fact. Big Parasol is also a big issue for them. That can block another Sable play, so I don't mind Parasoling active here, forcing even more out of them. Echoing Horn, not going to be too helpful. We're looking pretty good. We're looking pretty good. We'll just Max Miracle again. So we're blocking a Sable Sprinkle. We've Lost Zoned one of them. There's our Forest Sealstone. We're trying to hurt their development of Kyogre as much as we can. That is 4 energy in the discard pile right now. Their map can very much be just deal with Oricorio, then deal with 2 Genesect Vs with a Kyogre. But it's how they get there, really. We are going to see our first gate from them, and they just concede straight away. Okay, they were in trouble by the looks of things. maybe some wonky energy going on with their Lost Zone and in their active and, sorry, like in hand and discard and stuff. But yeah, that was a pretty good tempo. Randomly, off the second Genesect, we got the absolute dream. And things were pretty in our control there. As soon as they missed the Zamazenta, like, instant response on our Mew V, I felt pretty good about our situation. Let's try and get another last game in with Mew. We've had things pretty much go our way against the Lost Box. Things definitely didn't go our way in the mirror, though. We missed the Sparkle, and then we got quad tableted after we quad modded as well. So that's chaos. We're going first. Where do I want to do this? Let's start with Sparkle, I guess. We don't have much draw. I'll probably play out Parasol Tablet based on the hand. Fusion Energy is solid. So Manaphy can be in Lugia. It can be in Lost Box. So I really don't like having to play these cards out, but I'm really not doing much if I'm not. So unfortunately, cards like Parasol do have a shelf life. You just hope that maybe I can Cyllene this back if it is against Lugia. And no access to Mew means we're locked into a Melodious Echo next turn, so it's really rough that my only supporter is Judge. VIP means we're up against Lost Box as well, so if they can turn one cram me, I'm in a real bad spot. It's basically scoop from there if they can get a cram attack here. Our opening hand was just pretty rough. No ball search of R12. No cram panic option. No panic phone option either. Can't even phone home. And our opponents pop in. They've found 2 of their 4 VIP passes. But who counts? You know, who counts? No one counts these things. So it looks like it's some sweet revenge from Lost Box. And it also means we probably play another game. This ultimately is a combo-based deck, and you can just draw things in an awkward way. There's no getting away from that. They haven't Colressed us yet, so maybe there's hope. Hopium. Alright. Attaching DTE means I need to find a damage mod to even take a Echo knockout. But I think I'll do this. Certainly don't want to draw back into that DTE. Well, I can draw off Genesect. I can, I suppose, draw again off Genesect. I'm thinking what's worse, honestly. I think getting rid of the Mew is fine. It's just we only play 2 Mew VMAX, which is really rough. But I think I'm doing this and playing Pad proactively for getting Judge back. We even prized Cyllene, which really hurts us. But hey, the things we do to scramble for 70 damage. And we don't even get there, which is a real shame. I can hit for 50 and then have a Glistening Droplets option. But we all know this is an embarrassment. It's probably best for me to retreat and protect this. But it is very sad. Let's pass. It's very rare that we're not initiating a race on turn 2. So this is probably going to end quite badly for us. I'm not holding out too much hope. We've been very slow. And our resources are also a bit dicey. And once again, in a position with only one VMAX. Which sucks. I also have a stupid Parasol banked here when I could really use them on a VMAX at some point. I might be able to use Meloetta more imminently, though. We'll see. Once again, playing Zama. How many are they at? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Alright. Not going to get too crazy here. Going to get spat on by a Cram. So how many... We're down a tablet. Just thinking about Psychic Leap play and how realistic it is. More realistic if I rope. And he's obviously giving me Manaphy here, right? I probably should have played Switch Cart there before the rope even, but that was sort of telltaling what I was trying to do. I can still Switch Cart here, it's just wasted a Switch Cart in terms of like protecting against sprinkles later. But I think this is fine. It's a bit of an order lull, but our ultimate goal is to leap anyway. So I don't think it's too big of a troll. Because we only have access to one VMAX, I'll just find that before the mod. Now we'll look for damage mod. Within this. Five more draws. Still would love to Judge. Okay, Judge is very strong here. Really happy to thin Horn. Pretty happy to thin Melo as well. Those can go. And then we'll just Judge. Still looking for that damage mod. Otherwise I'm committing to a pretty bad attack here. Alright, we do hit the mod. So I'm probably going into Genesect here. So I'm holding rope. That sounds like the best move. They have the guaranteed Cram, so definitely don't want to give them Melo or Oricorio. Obviously not giving them Mew, so this is process of elimination. I'd love a VMAX here. Cyllene's still pretty good. Pretty handy. I have to ration it because I still haven't found my other VMAX, so it's not a card I can proactively discard or play out of hand, which is a little bit cloggy, but it's a helpful card nonetheless. It didn't matter at all that I didn't find a Lost City that turn either, because Manaphy is irrelevant. It only really matters on things like Greninja, I suppose, things like Zam. They've already thrown one into the zone, which means they're playing two, right? Or they just don't think it's relevant for the matchup at all, which also could be the case. I see Chorus, so I imagine my Mew V is safe. It would have sucked if this Mew had been knocked out, but I suppose I always had the backdoor Echo play if they randomly were able to construct a Gate Gust play. That gets them to 9. See the attach. Retreat into the Cram. Sableye coming down. Oh, Temple, okay. It's a little bit dicey for us. Rotom Phone looking pretty promising. Again, because I have the backup of Melo. Actually, it may be best to use a Meloetta attack here because I have the Parasol and they have Sableye developed. We'll see how that plays out. I don't mind putting down a Genesect here. It's just so wacky that I'm giving up my leap option. It can really be pretty devastating, actually. But my hand is probably bad enough to do it. I can play the phone first and see what's what. I do like Vacuum. It's weird to not take Forest Steel Stone, though, because it's just much more flexible, right? I should just take that. The Judge is also super tempting, honestly. I mean, the Forest Stone has to be correct, but it's just so weird with this hand. Because now I'm pretty incentivized to play down this Genesect and draw 3. Well, Lost City plus Energy is pretty strong here. I think it incentivizes a boss play as well. I can actually attack with a Meloetta with the Parasol. It's exactly because it has a Parasol, which is why I'm doing it this way around, to try and make it more awkward for the opponent here to use their Sableye. We're going to evolve up. I'm happy to play down another stone. I don't think I need to do anything else, though. I've played Supporter. I have attached. I've stadiumed. I think I've done pretty much everything I can. So let's Echo. Greninja is actually their 10th Lost Zone card, so we've done them a favour. But again, stifling their draw seems really important. Again, they have a huge amalgamation of different energies going on in their deck list. Judge next turn seems like a real priority for us. I might do that off the rip, honestly. I might just tablet off the rip for Judge. Ultra Ball is pretty good for us here, honestly. This hand was so clogged. Let's do this. Let's get Mew. Let's system. DTE very good. I may as well try and top deck Judge. Alright, now we'll Alchemy for Judge. Pretty ugly drawing back into the fusion energy, but what can you do? Right, looks like it's a Technoblast. For the KO, we are a little bit light on our switches now as well. We've got 2 rope and the cart all in the bin. So the Cyllene now may be a little bit more risky, depending on how their turn plays out. Do I see a Colress from them? How many energy in their bin? Still 4. Two gates down. Only 1 rope down is a little bit scary. I'd actually really like them to rope, honestly, because it resets my... Wow, that's their 3rd gate, and it's just to use Sableye. That's pretty surprising. I'm going to get rid of Raikou. They're going to retreat. I feel like they go knock out Oricorio here and then sprinkle other stuff. I don't think they need to take... Unless they have things that are important that are prized, they don't need to deal with the damaged Genesect here. Alright, they are taking their time on the Lost Mine, but here we go. Yep, it is going to be Oricorio, makes sense. So it looks like we're in a commanding position, but we're actually really not, because they can be a Kyogre away from game, and I now have no more hand disruption. And I also can't attack this turn unless I hit Cyllene to reset me. So I'm getting rid of Tablet and Quick. No, I'm getting rid of Tablet and Ultra. No, I'm just getting rid of both balls, right? And then I'm insta-playing the Tablet, playing the Genesect. I'll have 3 in hand, drawing 3, really hoping for Cyllene, essentially. So I can get a switch out, and I can attempt to switch cart one of these dingbats. I think is what we're looking at. Here's Tablet. Here's this. I'm drawing 4. Yeah. Cyllene isn't buried at the bottom, which is good news. If we get double heads, I feel I'm in a good spot, but otherwise we're in a really bad spot. Alright, 1 is safe enough. It's actually still Monka-S, because I'm actually going to get bench locked if I don't have access to my... Well, there's a few things that can go wrong. I could get trapped if they have a Gust. Play on a Genesect. But they don't know that, I suppose. Because how many DTs am I down? Yeah, they don't know that they can do that. But the real problem is, this again is my last switch option, so if I don't hit the 33% for Mew V, I'd be locked into a Psychic Leap play. I guess I could Psychic Leap into a Comfey, so maybe I'm going to be okay, probably. But the other issue is, of course, that I could get Kyogre at any point here. And right from the start, I said that our tempo was so low. Like, I should be 1 prize away from game and make them have the full combo this turn with 11 cards in deck, and I think that's pretty difficult for them. But I think giving them 2 turns to assemble this 1 Kyogre is probably too easy for them now. But we'll see. They're capturing to retreat / have a look at their resources. I'm just going to grab another Conf. I'm going to go again. So this actually works, but only because we prized an energy. This shouldn't actually have worked. So it's a real shame, but yeah, we've lost a dodgy prize, right? So yeah, we have decked out, but there's actually no way they could have known that. They've just punted and hoped for the best. So it is what it is, but I don't think there's anything else I could have done this game. So we'll concede here and say well played. But realistically, we kind of low rolled, not just by having our prizes the way they were, by our last 2 prizes being Mew VMAX and DTE, which is a real issue, of course. And and us actually having prized Cyllene in the first place, so I had to Pal Pad proactively before the Cyllene. Just a lot of things went wrong that game. Not to mention the fact that I whiffed a turn 2 Echo on a 70 hit point damage, sorry, a 70 hit point Mon to take a prize, and in that case we almost always win the game actually, just based on what prizes were left, because I wouldn't have had to have Cyllene for the Switch Cart. I could have just evolved into another VMAX and attacked with that guy, and then the Cyllene would have been open for getting us out of a bad spot. So yeah, it is what it is. Lots of complicated excuses for what was ultimately, you know, kind of a rough matchup. When you start so slowly. And that's just going to be the case when we're not playing those same defensive options, unfortunately. We still have a little bit of defense in there with the Judge and the Lost Cities. You still make life difficult for them, hinder their draw engine when you can, with the likes of gusting up Greninjas and such. That can definitely be a big play for you, especially for the Kyogre builds, because they rely so heavily on those energies hitting the discard pile and then recycling a ton of them all in one go. So let me know your thoughts down below. Of Fusion Mew, do you prefer the Judge-based build? We had some wacky games today, let's be honest. That was just a crazy ladder experience today. Where else could you get games like that? I don't even know. Let me know your thoughts on catchers. Do you go all in when you play the Fusion build? Or do you prefer a more conservative approach that still has Rotom Phones to try and at least get that combo working? I'll hear it all down below. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in another video tomorrow. Cheers.